Hi guys. Okay, so we're just going to get started here today. A big part of scheduling that's super duper uber important is not exactly not just how you schedule, but it's what you schedule. So just like the post said, what are your priorities? It's not about what do you prioritize in your schedule. It's that you only schedule things that are your priority, right? So when you start organizing all the chaos that you already have, basically what you're doing is you're just creating organized chaos, right? So when you come into here, one of the biggest things that happens is we have to get super duper clear on what is really important. So for example, we release the schedule for the group for the next however many days, right? So yesterday, as it was posted, was the perfect opportunity for everybody in the group to literally go through and enter the exact days, times, dates, and the person doing them was all posted. This has been the lowest turnout that we've already have. Now, I'll also say this is also something that happens with consistency with people, and it could also be the time of day because this one's a little earlier. So I'm not going to say that people aren't here because they don't want to commit or anything like that, but because I don't know where you are today. I don't know, why you're here today. Maybe not another one, but it doesn't matter. Either way, this is just inquiry for you to be able to know your truth. So I just want to be super clear that this isn't me blaming anybody for not being on the call. It's just an offer for inquiry. So there are going to be some trainings during the day, as you can see, and then you might not be able to make them, and some later in the night that you will be able to make. So either way, just make sure you're watching the trainings and the replays, because also around I think it's 4 to 6 actually, people tend to fall off. So this is a direct reflection of just mainly what happens when we're so used to being in our habits and doing the things that we do in a certain way that it's really easy for us to just go back to what we're doing. So how do you find out what really is important in your schedule? Well, I have a rule of thumb. If it doesn't make me money or it doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. If it doesn't make me money or it doesn't make me happy, I don't do it. So this is actually a big part of when I started to remove certain people from my life, that I found I really started to notice how I felt obligated to certain people. It doesn't mean that they're cut out forever, but I did know that there were certain people in my life that were taking up time, and I felt obligated to give it to them. Now, those people didn't make me money and they didn't make me happy. I was kind of more like it was a filler, right? And feeling like you need to be obligated to fulfill someone else's whole or to fulfill someone else's happiness is actually drawing you away from what you really need to create. The thing is, when we get into these kinds of things, we have to start really realizing and utilizing what is really the most important. Because the fact of the matter is when you guys really get rolling on this, we didn't get into this business to work around the clock. We didn't. We got into this business so that we could actually create a freedom and lifestyle to be able to do whatever we wanted in the time frame that we chose. So look at your schedule. There's a couple things that a lot of people waste a lot of time doing. Number one is scrolling. I went through a period of time and as far as like having an algorithm, on social media, you do have to kind of be doing a little bit of serve and return, but you don't have to do a lot. The moment you find yourself scrolling, stop yourself and notice it, because people spend hours and hours and hours scrolling on the internet when you don't actually need to be. So you're just filling time. So pick up a book instead. Like I've said in other trainings, set yourself up for wins. So have your journals closed, have your books beside your bed, so that the time that when you are having that free time, that you are filling it with something valuable. Okay. So I am a mom, and this will resonate for sure with moms, but also, for those of you that don't have kids, there's going to be things in your schedule. Just because I'm a mom and I have kids doesn't mean that my schedule is way harder than yours. It just means that what happens is when we get into, we're very adaptable. So when I started this business, my one son was 1.5 years, and my other one was 2.5, and my oldest was autistic. and a high level autistic, and he didn't sleep at night. He would scream all night, some like 2 hours, 45 minutes to 2 hours. So I was super sleep deprived, and I didn't have any support. I built actually this business in that standpoint. I didn't get help for childcare up until after I had made, I think it was like over $60,000, $80,000. I can't remember what it was. So I still was able to create a viable business. But what happened was when I got help, then I actually was like, whenever I didn't have help, I was like, oh, I can't get anything done. So I want you to really understand that you create your reality. When I realized I was doing that, I was like, wait a minute, you didn't even have help. And now your older son has more therapy. He's actually communicating. He's sleeping through the night. You have another child that still naps 3 hours a day. And it wasn't up until a few days ago that I actually sat down and I wrote out my schedule, and I realized how much free time I have. So Sunday to Saturday, you need to find out where you are all day. What if you have a child that naps? If you might not have children, you might be at work certain days. Have a little powwow with yourself, whether you need to have one at the beginning of the month, mid-month. Some people have like serving schedules that come out every couple of weeks. So, your schedule is going to change. It's going to fluctuate. It is your job to schedule your life. And some of the most successful people in the world say they know where they are every 15 minutes to half an hour of every single day. Now, obviously, going from where you are to that is super intense. But what you can do is you can literally just open up a book and you can do something like this, where you can go, oh, okay, so Monday, this is when I have my kids. My yoga's in there. So I went to the local yoga studio that I go to, and I made sure that my yoga's on there. Then what I did was I got a scheduler. I've had it for a while. There's a couple different ones that I use. I use Calendly now. I'm having a lot of issues with it. It's still functional, but basically sometimes when I put in times I'm not available, people are still able to book. So I am struggling with that one a little bit right now. But there was another one that I used. It was called Schedule Once, and I never had any issues with that. The only reason I changed was because I was being a penny pincher, and I was like, oh, if I can have the same system for free, I'm going to go with that one. Now I'm kind of realizing that I might have downgraded myself. So I'll probably go back to Schedule Once. But basically what that does is if someone wants to meet with me, someone wants to talk to me, I just send them my scheduler. And I don't let people book within 24 hours or less in advance because I need to have my head on straight. So Acuity is another one. Laura said, and she really likes it. Just find one that works for you. So then when you can actually schedule times in. The other thing that I have not done super great at, but I've realized is I don't leave enough time in between my appointments. So always block like a 30-minute time slot at a minimum in between your time slots. And you have to learn to say no. That's a biggie. And that was a hard one for me, actually saying no. So it doesn't make you money. It doesn't make you happy. So it could make you money, but it's going to stress you out, right? So coming to your business from a place of stress or trying to fit everything in just creates chaos. So that's why learning to say no is very important. So you have to understand what you can manage in a day. I went through a period of time where I was like, oh yeah, I can start calls at 9 a.m. But then I wasn't actually getting any of my morning routine done. I was literally, if I had a rough night with my kiddos, I would literally roll out of bed and be like, and just enough time to grab a coffee and jump on the phone, and I still had a frog in my throat. I realized it wasn't a way that I like to start my day. So only you know how your days can be successful. Only you know that. And then what you do is you start to build your schedule around that. So my schedule is written out. It will go in my calendar. It will go on my Calendly or my Schedule Once. And that way I can go before I go to bed. Okay, so this is also key. Don't wake up in the morning and look what you got going for the day. Because what can happen is if you have something earlier that you forget about and you screw something up right off the bat, that sets up your whole day. So I like to look at my schedule the night before. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes I forget, like I did the other day. I ended up being up late and I forgot to check my schedule. And if I would have checked it, I would have known I had a phone call. But I thought that my calendar wouldn't allow it anyways. Don't rely on technology 100%. So check in if you can the night before. That way, if you try and do it on the day of, everything screws up. And technology does fail us. Like I thought I had, something booked off and my calendar wouldn't allow it. My calendar allowed it. Then you disappoint people. And then what happens? You're disappointed, right? So set yourself up for success. Get yourself a scheduler. If you're in a position where you don't want to spend the money for one, that's fine. Calendly will work fine. My schedule is a lot more full than most people as far as phone calls and all that kind of stuff. It's more something to use for like 30-minute or 1-hour time slots, right? There's tons of different ones. Find one that works for you. Find one that doesn't take you a lot of time, because this is the other thing. If you're a scheduler that likes to plan everything, you're going to waste a ton of time planning. So keep it, structured. Give yourself that time in between. Say no. And also, you guys, really, really make sure that the people that you're talking to and the appointments that you're making and the dinners that you're organizing and everything that you're organizing is you should be number one. So these trainings for like ACE, and I've said this and I've said it again and again and again, and I'll continue saying it because I still believe like people don't do it. But these trainings need to be your priority, because it's really easy to turn around and like not see any of this. It's really easy to, and then it's really easy to just like let your business go. And it only takes a few days. Literally, I find if I don't post on my business page for a couple days, people disappear. My engagement actually halves, and then it takes me like a week to get it back up. So plan your schedule, but don't over plan. This is another thing I screwed up on. I was like, okay, so I want to do every morning. I will look at my ads from like 9 to 10 a.m., from 12 to 1, from 6 to 7. That's what I'm going to plan, like looking at my ads. Then I'm going to plan a yoga class here. So now what I do is, so let's look at, say for, let's do Wednesday. So I went 8 to 11 a.m. I'm open, which means that's whatever I want to fill in there. If I decide that I want to take on some phone calls during that period of time, then maybe I'll open that up on my calendar. But as of right now, 8 to 11 a.m. on Wednesday morning, I'm open. Do I want to commit that time to myself and my personal development? What does that mean? It means my time is open. So that's generally the mornings. I have decided, because I've troubleshot this, that that's going to be the time that I'm going to be doing my stuff. Okay, so that's going to be content creation, stuff that feeds my soul, meditation, getting ready for the day, doing whatever I want, maybe go tanning, I don't know, whatever. That Wednesdays, that is my open time. Then from 12 to 1, I know I have yoga. So you see how I didn't go from 8 to 11:30 I'm open. I gave myself an hour between open and yoga, right? Because it's going to give me time to get there, all this stuff. Then I went 12 to 1 is yoga. I didn't plan anything else till 2 to 3:30. Now, the thing is, guys, that you have to, and then 2 to 3:30, I was like, okay, this is when my son naps generally. What do I want to put in there? Okay. And then 1:30 to 3:30 open. So, and then I went 8 to 9 p.m. is team trainings, and then put a little block on the outside. So I have a schedule, but it's kind of loose. And the reason is because for me, this is a new set schedule, right? This isn't the same schedule I had 6 months ago. It's not going to always be the same. Your schedule is going to change. So you have to be willing to change and grow with it. So set yourself a schedule. So just like I talk to people about ads, start broad and then dial it down until, yes, you have things dialed right down. The main thing is, for people that are like super like attention to detail, what happens when one thing gets wrong and your schedule is like so tight and you're OCD about it, it's just going to stress you out. So the moment you're not happy is a moment like you're just throwing your business out. Okay. So there's some basic tips for you. For moms, I've said this before, work when your kids are sleeping, schedule that time frame in for your work time if you can, or your meditation or whatever. Also find the days of the times that your kids are the most relaxed. In the morning, I know I can feed my kids breakfast, and that's going to give me about 10 minutes where they're going to be eating. So I boot out and I go do my meditation, because I know every morning they're going to eat. and it's going to take them about 10 minutes, that's a guaranteed time slot for me. Okay. So obviously if you have babies, they don't feed themselves, you can't do that. But the point is you know your schedule. The number one thing that you need to really, really dial in is what is super important, not what is already in your schedule and how do I organize it, but what can I remove out of my schedule so that I can make space to, number one, either give back to myself, or number two, give back to my business. And giving back to yourself includes, people are like, well, where's time for your family? I'm like, believe me, you will always find time for your family. If you need to schedule a date night for you and your hubby, whatever it is, that's completely up to you. I can't really tell you how to like incorporate your family into your life. But you're also looking at someone that, I'll be totally honest, I sacrificed a lot of time with my children to do other things, but it was a year. And it wasn't even that much. Like I still took my kids on 2 trips. I still was physically with them every day, but like reading them stories at night. Sometimes I was listening to a training. Sometimes I'd be like, oh, you don't get a bath tonight because mommy has to do a training and it's getting too late. They're not hurting. They got a bath the next day. Like, don't be so hard on yourself. Don't try and do everything perfectly, because at the end of the day, and Safa said this on trainings before too, what are you willing to sacrifice so that you can have a successful business? So if I can do this, anybody can do this. It's very, very doable. It is a matter of, there's a little bit of trial and error that's going to happen. You do have to sit down. You will have to remove sometimes some people from your life, but it's a very short period of time that you can create success doing this. The training should be in your schedule. They're non-negotiable. You don't do anything and you don't commit to anything without saying, oh, I just want to check my schedule. The problem is we all have experiences that we like label something, and we all know maybe those people that are like, oh, I'm so busy, I need to check my schedule, right? And you're like, oh, come on, it sounds so faux pas. But actually, it's like, it shows that you want to respect, like, what's worse is the people that commit to everything and then are late for everything and never show up. That's worse. So like the people that try and please everybody and do everything for everybody, their heart is good and they're trying, but it's not any better. So you're not doing anybody any favors by not having a structure. Okay. I also don't like structure. I'm very creative and I like to think outside the box, but I know what my non-negotiables are. I know that if I don't get physical exercise, I'm going to be grumpy. I know if I don't meditate, I'm going to be more snappy. There's no way that I can get on a phone call with someone and help them work through their stuff if I can't even work through my own. So those are just some basic tips for you. Get your scheduled for your trainings in your thing. Your business is your number one when you're just starting. Like, it really is. Like, I don't work 12 hours a day. I spend hours and hours with my children in the times around my business. I work everything around my business. So have I always done that? Yes. Because I know, you guys, that now I'm able to, in this point right now, I get to schedule things around my business in the way that I want to. Before, I was kind of like, I didn't know how to schedule things. So put your business first. It doesn't mean that you don't love your family, that you don't love your husband, that you don't love your wife. It doesn't mean that. It means that you love them enough that you're willing to make the sacrifices for a short period of time so that you can be there full time for them. And you can show up at your best, because a lot of people that are in here too, they are in here because they're like, I just feel like I want to contribute to my family. I feel like I'm unhappy in my job. So you're here because you want major change in your life. And what is going to give you that major change? Your business. It's going to reflect everything. So prioritize you and your business first, and get selfish about removing people and things from your schedule that you don't need, that are not going to help you. This might come off a little bit intense to some people, where they're like, I can't believe you structure your business before your children. I'm like, well, my children still eat every morning. I still give them cuddles every morning. I still read them books at night. I'm here. It's just that right now my door is locked and my child he is taken care of. He has somebody watching him. But if he knocks on that door, I am not going to leave here to go deal with him. I'm not. Because right now, this is my priority. This is what's putting a roof over our heads. This is what is allowing him to even be here and not be in a daycare full time, right? So this is why it's really important that I want you guys to understand where this is coming from. When you prioritize the things that are going to change your life the most, like your business at this point, you are going to become a much better person in order to create a stability, foundation, and happiness for everybody around you. So I gain a nugget every time I watch a training and more inspiration. Yeah, it's true. This is the thing with trainings, you guys. This is why they're so imperative, because you could listen to this whole thing and I might say one thing before I like turn it off that you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad I watched that. Like there's literally been trainings that I've been like, oh, I've almost left because I'm like, oh, I'm not getting anything from this. And then they say something and I'm like, oh my gosh. And it's huge. It only takes one teeny little piece of information to completely change your life. Look at, I never used to schedule anything and I was like in complete chaos. And then someone said to me, oh, have you heard of Schedule Once? Have you heard of Calendly? I gained so much time in my day by people being like, hey, can I book with you? And I'm like, yeah, here's my schedule. Just book with me once a week. That's like what we're able to do. And the amount of time I saved, and now I've been running it for like 5 months. I don't even know what my life was like before that. And it literally just took like that one little thing for someone to be like, have you tried this? Right? So this is why these trainings are imperative. And this is your way of really committing to your business. And so let's just do a quick recap and then I'll open up for questions. We have about 10 more minutes. Get a schedule structured, remove things from your day that aren't serving you. They're not making you happy. They're not making you money. Prioritize you and your business first, and be flexible with your schedule. Know that you could start it in one way, but you're going to dial it down. So start it out a little broader. Don't be like, oh, I got to do 15-minute time slots. That's what Grant Cardone does. He makes millions and millions and billions of dollars. So if he does that, if I do that, that's going to work for me. Do you think he just went from point A? No, he didn't. He worked his way up there. So start broad, look at 1 hour time frames in your day, 4 hour time frames in your day, and then you can start to dial them down. And then know that your schedule is going to change over time. Also have little check-ins with yourself. You should be using your calendar. Obviously, I'm going to say that a calendar that you can use on the go is the best one, because basically what it's going to do is you're going to be able to be flexible with, obviously if you're out and about and you forget your daytime or at home or something and you don't know your schedule, then you take your phone everywhere, right? So make it accessible, set yourself up for failure, notice when you're wasting time, all that kind of stuff. So find ways you can cut corners in your life where it's not absolutely necessary. Like there was even a period of time I used to make like all my own vegan cheeses. I don't know if you guys make vegan cheese, but it is a freaking process. I would make vegan, organic, gluten-free lasagnas for my family. I would make organic pancakes with homemade syrup and these crazy shakes, and I would make such elaborate meals. I loved it, and I do still love it. But when I started doing this, I literally was like, I don't have time to make vegan cheeses. I don't have time to make my own almond milk. I don't have time to, I did cut back on some of the things that took me super long time because it wasn't necessary. Yes, I'll go back to, I learned I could buy vegan cheeses and I could buy gluten-free, dairy-free lasagnas. I could do other things. I wasn't so hard on myself for not being Pinterest person, right? For doing everything perfect. Because at the end of the day, making vegan cheeses, really the only person that loved them that much was me, because my toddlers, they liked it, but I could give them friggin' tuna and they would be just as happy. So the point is not to take health and wellness out of the equation, but then using an extreme circumstance where I literally was like, I don't have time to make vegan cheese anymore, because that's literally taking up 5 hours of my week to make friggin' vegan cheese. So things like that you do in your life that you're like, if I just put this on the back burner for a year while I build my business, then I could go back to it if I wanted. So just stuff like that, like start to see where you have things happening in your life that are potentially taking you away from actually driving you forward. And because everybody has time, you guys. Everybody says I'm busy. Everybody has more time. I can sit down with each one of you and I could find at least an extra hour to 3 hours in each of your days where you could be. I guarantee it. I will actually guarantee you that every single person that I could meet with, I could find 1 to 3 hours in their day where they could be learning, implementing, or growing personally or professionally. I know that I could. So even, people, if you're waiting in a lineup to get your coffee every day, there's little apps where you can pre-order your coffee. I don't know. There's lots of things that you can do. How can you get more time in your schedule? So the schedulers that I use is either Calendly or Schedule Once. I like Schedule Once better, but it costs money. So it's just up to you. I thought I knew scheduling, but this opened my eyes to so much. Good, Minda. What was your biggest takeaway? Can you put so after this training, can each of you put your biggest takeaway on the post that I posted with the picture where it said the prioritize? Put your biggest takeaway on there so that people can see something that maybe that you learned. Also, when you regurgitate something that you learned, it'll implement it a little bit better into your psyche. So do any of you guys have any specific questions for me before I turn this off? And if not, I'm going to stop the recording now. So for those of you watching the replay, please comment replay when you watch it. I think that this is a massive part of how you'll find success in your business. After you watch the replay, even if you could put your biggest takeaway from it on the post in the group would be awesome.